Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a trip back in time to uncover a 4,000-year-old mystery that's literally been buried deep in the sands of the Indus Valley. We're talking about Mohenjo-Daro. This was a bustling, incredibly advanced metropolis, an absolute crown jewel of the ancient world, that somehow just vanished completely from history. Well, until now.
So, before archaeologists ever even laid a brush on this site, it was totally shrouded in this deep local superstition. There was an old Sindhi legend that warned, if anyone climbs this mound, they will turn blue. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a ghost story, right? But ironically, that very specific, pretty terrifying superstition is exactly what ended up protecting this amazing place, which was literally known as the Mound of the Dead. It kept treasure hunters and looters away for centuries, and basically perfectly preserved the whole thing for us to find later.
Let's jump into Section 1, the Mound of the Dead.
To really get our bearings, let's head about 430 kilometers north of modern-day Karachi, straight into the fertile, rural Sindh region of Pakistan. We kind of need to anchor ourselves in the timeline here. So Mohenjo-Daro was in its absolute prime way back between 2600 and 1900 BCE. And after it eventually declined, it literally just sat there, entirely undisturbed, all the way into the 1920s. That's when it was rediscovered by an archaeologist named R.D. Banerjee. He looked around and realized, wait a minute, these aren't just random hills. These are the remnants of a massive, lost civilization. Fast forward a bit to 1965, and we get the final major excavation led by George Dales. Now, we're definitely going to get into exactly why the digging had to abruptly halt a little later, but just imagine the thrill of uncovering a huge city that had been fast asleep for 4 whole millennia.
And wow, what a mesmerizing city it is. If you look at the ruins today, and this was described so beautifully by the Pakistani archaeologist Parveen Talpur, who actually helped catalog those 1965 discoveries, she noted that at sunrise, the uniform red bricks of the roofless ruins glow with this otherworldly Martian hue. Since all the roofs are long gone, those perfectly uniform, exposed bricks catch the early morning light in a way that just feels totally alien. It's this hauntingly beautiful visual that really captures the deep mystery of the people who built this place.
Which brings us to Section 2, a masterpiece of geometry.
Moving past that mysterious, Martian-like surface, we find this incredibly advanced mathematical foundation underneath. It's like a giant puzzle. On one hand, you've got the citadel. This was built up on a raised elevation, and it served as the main hub for public and religious functions. It even features the famous Great Bath, which is this massive, 8-foot-deep, geometrically perfect, and completely waterproofed pool. Crazy, right? Then, on the other hand, you have the lower city. This was the sprawling residential zone. We're talking multi-story houses and private brick-lined wells made with these highly specialized wedge-shaped bricks. The urban planning here was so next level, with straight streets crisscrossing at perfect right angles, that the renowned archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler literally compared the main thoroughfare to New York's Broadway. No way, right?
So, here is the real kicker. Despite all this incredible urban organization, standardized bricks, perfect street grids, advanced plumbing, we are facing a massive, unsolved mystery. Who actually ruled Mohenjo-Daro? Think about it. In ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia, you find these giant, flashy palaces for kings, or massive monuments built to honor individual rulers. But here, we have absolutely nothing of the sort.
That leaves us with some pretty fascinating possibilities. Was there a single male or female ruler? Maybe it was a theocracy run entirely by priests. Or could it perhaps have been an early form of democracy? The wealth and infrastructure seem to be incredibly evenly distributed. Or, and this is a really cool thought, was it a matriarchy? Archaeologists have actually discovered an overwhelming abundance of mother goddess figurines scattered around the site, which makes a matriarchal system a very genuine, totally intriguing theory. We know the administration of this vast civilization had to be centered here, yet the actual face of that authority, it remains completely 100% hidden from us.
Moving on to Section 3. Life in the Ancient Metropolis.
Let's dig just a bit deeper into the daily lives of the artisans, the traders, and the families who walk those crisscrossing streets every single day. See, Mohenjo-Daro definitely wasn't some isolated little settlement. It was an absolute commercial powerhouse. Goods manufactured right in the city were transported down the nearby Indus River, out into the Arabian Sea, along the coast to the Persian Gulf, and all the way to Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. They were constantly exporting beautifully crafted items and importing raw materials like flint. It was this thriving, bustling hub, basically the center of a massive international trade network.
And we know for sure the city was vibrant because of the incredible artifacts they left behind. Parveen Talpur, who remember worked with the American archaeological team back in 1979, recalled feeling just absolute awe as these deeply human objects passed through her hands. We're talking about iconic statues like the Priest King and the famous Dancing Girl. But we also find things like actual theatrical masks and 5,000-year-old toys. Yeah, toys that strongly suggest a society that really valued entertainment, art, and just children's joy. They even had organized industrial dyeing pits to create colorful fabrics. Oh, and then there are the unsolved mysteries, like these heavily perforated jars. Their exact purpose? It still completely baffles experts today. But altogether, it paints this vivid picture of a really prosperous, highly skilled, and seemingly happy civilization.
Okay, let's look at Section 4, the river's double-edged sword. Now, we kind of have to shift our focus to the very lifeblood of the city itself, the Indus River, because while it provided essential water and transportation, it was also this totally chaotic, unpredictable force of destruction. And this brings us to a number that just brilliantly illustrates the sheer resilience of these ancient people, the number 7. When archaeologists dug down into the mound, they didn't just find one city layer. Nope, they found 7 distinct layers of occupation. What does that mean? It means that time and time again, massive, catastrophic flooding from the Indus River would literally wash through the streets, forcing the inhabitants to flee for their lives. But when the waters finally receded, they didn't abandon their home. No way. They came right back and they painstakingly rebuilt their entire metropolis directly on top of the ruins over and over again for 700 years. Which leads us to Section 5, Buried Again, the modern threat.
So this brings our explainer to the modern day, and to the literal water table of our narrative dig. There are basically 3 major modern threats that actually prompted UNESCO to declare Mohenjo-Daro an endangered site, which is why excavations were permanently banned after 1965. First up, you have salinity. This is salt-borne air that just slowly corrodes that 4,000-year-old exposed brickwork. Second, there's the ever-present threat of flooding from the constantly changing Indus River. But the third and honestly most devastating threat is waterlogging. In a really tragic twist of irony, the construction of the Sukkur barrage back in the early 20th century, which, by the way, was an absolute massive blessing for local agriculture, well, it caused the underground water table to rise dramatically. And all this standing water is now aggressively damaging the unexcavated underground foundations of the ancient city.
Because of this artificially rising water table, we're faced with a pretty staggering revelation. Get this, only 1/3 of Mohenjo-Daro has ever actually been uncovered. That means that an incredible 2/3 of this massive, highly advanced ancient metropolis remains completely buried underground. It's totally locked in the waterlogged earth. So the vast majority of this amazing human story is just out of our reach, and it will likely never be safely excavated by modern archaeologists. It's kind of heartbreaking, right?
Which leaves us with this final, really haunting question to ponder. What ancient secrets are still permanently submerged in that waterlogged earth beneath Sind? We actually know from boreholes dug back in 1965 that human occupation layers go down at least another 39 feet. That suggests there's history there much, much older than what we currently know. Are the answers to who ruled them or exactly how they mastered such precise engineering hidden right there in those drowned layers? It's a pretty profound reminder of just how much of human history is still just slightly out of reach, waiting quietly beneath the surface. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the world around you.